There are tons of new upgrades and options on these newly designed Road Glides that I could say, oh, it's my favorite, or man, I really love that. But there really is one that I say is my favorite. It's not the new fairing, which I absolutely love the new design of the fairing. I love the way that front headlight looks. I just love the whole thing, how that is designed. I love the 117 engine being water-cooled heads. I mean, this engine was on CVO previously, and I know that this is new and improved, so it's even better than what they had before. And this bike rides cooler than any bike I've ever had. I also love the fact that they've integrated the LED turn signals with the tail lights and the front headlights, so you have integrated LED lights. Absolutely love that. I think it's a little bit late to the game like everybody else does, but you know, hey, they finally got it done. I absolutely love the screen, the huge infotainment screen, but there's still one more that, along with the several others that I could name, there's still one more that stands out as my favorite. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. You know, I'm sure I'm not the only one that really loves that new screen. Now, I will have to say there is a caveat with that screen for me. That was the biggest hang up for me, keeping me from buying one of these bikes, honestly. And I know that sounds kind of silly. As petty as it is, I loved my analog gauges on my old bike. And I just had a hard time letting go of those and knowing that I'm going to move up to a digital screen. And maybe there's others out there that had that same thing, but you know, like I said, I just love to see those dials on the front. I love that analog gauge look. And to an extent, you still kind of have that when you have your display on, unless you're on the touring mode. But the, you know, there's still a dial there, but it's digital. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. But for me, it was really hard to let go of the analog gauges. And I know that's petty, but that's just part of the reason why it took me so long to decide to buy one. But what my favorite option is on this bike, and I feel like that Harley-Davidson really did something awesome, is the ride modes. I think they should have probably included those a lot sooner. And don't get me wrong, I know that you're not really just tuning on the fly. I mean, it's cool that we've got some control over some of the things like, you know, throttle response, which is the biggest one, throttle response. It feels like a whole different bike when you change that. And if you go from rain mode to where it's highly attenuated to sport mode and you've got it maxed out, or custom mode, you got it maxed out, it's a huge difference. It feels like a totally different bike. So, you know, aside from putting a tuner on it and adjusting lots of other things, it just feels like we have a little bit of control with how these bikes are set up. And I'm just happy about that. And I know that there are a lot of people that feel like that's an option that should have been added long ago, which, you know, and I agree with that. But it's here now, so now we can enjoy it and we can move from there. But that's my favorite option. I typically don't ride in rain mode ever, unless it's rain. I don't get caught in the rain very often. I have been caught in the rain, but I do use rain mode because I want it to be attenuated so I don't spin the tire when I don't want to, you know, so it's definitely safer. Typically I'll ride in sport mode, and that took me a little bit to get used to because sport mode's pretty much snappier, well, quite a bit snappier than road mode and rain mode. Way snappier than rain, but a little bit snappier than road mode. But so when you're hitting bumps and things, it's almost a little bit too jumpy. You can feel it, you can hear it. And when I first configured my custom mode, which I will go through here in a second, show you how to do that. When I first configured my custom mode, it was so touchy that I had to turn it off because I just couldn't ride down the road. Some of these roads over here were so rough that it was just, you know, every little bump I was revving the engine. It just felt like it was going to throw me off with the revs, and then the engine braking being bumped up. And it was just the strangest ride ever. So I turned that off, went back to sport. I'm a little bit more used to it now, and my throttle hand is a little bit more steady when I'm on that setting. Typically, I won't use custom unless I'm coming up to some heavy traffic and I need to have some more, you know, a quicker throttle response getting out into traffic. You know, you got to have the power when you need it. I really love the fact that these bikes have that with the throttle response control that we have in the ride modes. If you haven't figured out or haven't seen it, maybe you don't even see the custom ride mode on your bike. Now, it does have to be enabled in the infotainment center. So if it's not enabled, it doesn't show up as one of the choices when you're clicking the ride mode button. So we'll go through setting that up and configuring it. And then once you get it all set up, you can figure out how to ride down the road without making yourself look like you're jumping all around and have no throttle hand steadiness at all. So let's check it out. You can see I'm in sport mode. I'm gonna hit the menu button right here. And then I'm going to go to settings on the screen. I'll just do the screen so you can see what I'm doing. Then you go down here to ride modes. Now, if you're not seeing that custom A, it's probably not checked. You see, it can be unchecked. And then when you go back here and you scroll through the ride modes on your bike, there's rain mode, road, sport, and back to rain. So you see that it's not even showing up in the list. So if you're not seeing that in your list, it's because it needs to be enabled. So just enable that right there. And then to configure it, hit the little button there. If it asks you if you want to copy from another ride mode, you can, or you can say no and you can just configure it. It's basically going to copy some settings from other modes anyway, so I just put no. And then you just go through these steps. Engine map. How do you want the engine to be mapped? Obviously, I want it to be mapped in sport, so it gives me the most performance out of the engine. Engine braking. Now, I don't necessarily like to have as much engine braking, so I'm going to leave that on base. It's got plenty the way it is right there. Throttle response, I like to do. Let's do max. And like I said, when you do max, you're going to really feel it. It's going to feel like a totally different bike. Traction control, you can set it either way you want. If you set it on rain, it's probably going to attenuate a little bit, obviously, because if it's raining, it's going to keep you from spinning that tire. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to respond on wet conditions or slick conditions, but I'm going to go ahead and set that to sport because I want everything to be, let's see, analog brakes. You can, I'm going to put that on road as well. So I'm going to go back here and go to engine braking. Now, if you like a lot of engine braking, just hit +1 or max. Now, you're definitely going to feel that when you let off the throttle. It's going to pull you down. You're going to feel it, the bike slowing down quite a bit more than you would if you just left it on base. I'm just going to leave it like that on base. So that's my setup for custom A. Now, let's get out of this. When I go back up here and I hit the ride mode button right here, you see rain, you see road, you see sport, and now you see custom A because you've enabled it in the infotainment center and you've got it configured. Well, that's all there is to that. Pretty simple setup, and it gives you a little bit more freedom with how you set up your bike, and definitely makes your bike feel a little bit better and makes it ride a lot better. And just something that, you know, I'm glad that Harley's done, give us a little bit of control. I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Please give me a like and write me a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite option is on the new bikes. Y'all ride safe, and we'll see you on the next one.